Welcome back to the Daily Thunder Podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Woods, and I'm here with two guys this time. Spenser Davis, how are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to be back.
You waited on a national TV game to come back. You're one of those guys.
The big ones, I come back and the Heat make 40 free throws in a row. So draw your own conclusions.
This is your last time on the show for the year, but so enjoy it. But only the biggest stage for our guy Spenser, and as always, Mr. Brandon Rahbar. Brandon, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. That was a fun game. I'm really just bummed for the team themselves. Like, they wanted that bad. We're recording this right after the Thunder Heat national TV TNT game. For some reason, got the B team as far as the TNT squad goes. But I think it was a fun, competitive game. Besides, the free throw parade that happened, just a wild circumstances that ended in this Thunder loss. I'm just bummed for the guys. They fought hard. Just came up short at the end.
You weren't interested in free throws? That's why we watch. That's why we turn on the game.
Look, I didn't want to come on here and just automatically go boom right into hey, the Thunder got hosed because of the refs. But since you brought it up, you're baiting me, I'll take the bait.
Hey, you brought it up.
But I let it go, and then I let it go, and I wasn't gonna take my own bait. And you're like, you grabbed the bait and put it back out there.
61 free throws is why we turn on TNT games. That's what you're looking for. Yeah, why a wild night. If you wanted Jimmy Butler shooting more free throws than the other team combined, it was your night. Big night for you.
How about Shea getting fewer free throws than Dwayne Dedman and Gabe Vincent combined, even though Dwayne Dedman only played 5 minutes? That was enough.
Shout out Theragun. Shout out Theragun getting a lot of free press tonight. They might sign Dwayne Dedman. They might already have endorsement deals drawn up for Dwayne Dedman after that.
Well, NIL.
Yeah.
And SGA played 39 minutes, and the Heat threw 4 to 9 dudes at him every time he drove to the lane, and still ended up with only 7 free throws. And I think one of those was a technical foul.
Yeah.
So it just goes back, one, the fact that the Heat didn't miss a single free throw. I mean,
that is so impressive.
40 of 40 is really impressive, and it's a huge anomaly. To lose by 1 point to a team that hits 40 of 40 free throws. I mean, first of all, it's literally never been done in NBA history that a team made 40 of 40 free throws. It broke the NBA record that was set in 1982, 40-year-old record. And the Thunder still only lost by 1. And really, just some crazy circumstances and admittedly self-inflicted, mistakes there at the end. But I just feel like that's 40 of 40 is a lot to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, the Thunder weren't good from the line themselves. I mean, they were just 14 to 21 tonight, 67%. That's below their average, I'm pretty sure, probably well below. Shea missed a free throw. Kenrich, of course, missed the 2 at the end. Lendy Waters missed a free throw. Jalen missed a free throw, and Dort went 2 for 4. So, I mean, they had chances. Which for a team this young, I mean, what more can you ask?
I was surprised at I didn't know. I was today years old when I learned how bad Kenrich Williams' free throw percentage was. I didn't realize he was that bad from the line. 58, 58% or something like that on the season.
What's wild is
career 50%.
And he's a great 3-point shooter. It's wild.
Oh yeah. I mean, he'll hit a turnaround 15-footer with a hand in his face whenever. Typically doesn't hit rim. But the standstill ones at the free throw line are tough. I don't know. It's strange.
I thought Shea was good tonight, just to put this game in a bow. I mean, he of course could have been a little bit more involved in the second half, I guess. The Heat kind of forced it out of his hand at times, and they were aggressive with him early too. I think he only have 2 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
So they did a good job of taking his offense out of the game for long stretches. But I mean, he still had 26 on 18 shots. But I mean, that's going to be something where like he just has to be a little bit more selfish, I think. Him and Josh Giddey, no offense to Josh Giddey, probably should not take the same number of free throw attempts in a game, field goal attempts in a game. They both had 18. Would like to see Shea get more shots up, especially on a night where he only took 7 free throws.
Brandon, did you feel like what are your thoughts on them taking the same amount of shots tonight?
I think that, I mean, they were both. Look, Giddey was 8 of 18. I don't really think he took any bad shots. I know a couple of us. I know 1 3 in particular was like end of the shot clock. I think he had another end of the shot clock. I think they both played really, really well. Shea, I'll always say Shea can take more shots, especially when he's 9 of 18. But look, the Heat swarmed him. I mean, every time he tried to go to the lane, and Shea's just going to make the right play. He's never going to force anything. Very rarely, you see it every once in a while, but very rarely will he force things. He's always going to make the right shot. Now, to our eyes, we kind of feel like Shea versus 2 or 3 defenders may be a better shot than passing to a wide open Lou Dort, for instance. But that's the right shot, and Dort's, he was 1 for 6 from 3 tonight, but on the season, he's shooting like 35% from 3. So, I mean, and he's been hot lately. So it's the right play, even if we don't feel like it's the right play and he needs to take more shots. But the bigger story was the Heat was just, denying him the ball. They were swarming him. They were packing the paint. And I mean, not to go there, but he was getting a rough whistle tonight as well. So I think that he just kind of defaulted to making the right play.
Still a good overall showcase for what he can be at a national TV spot. So thought it was a good night from that perspective.
Agreed.
And I thought the same thing for Giddey as well. I mean, he felt like at times their only prayer to get a defensive rebound, and the rotation play where he found Wiggins, I think it put him up 5 in the last with like inside of 2 minutes was like that's everything we've watched them do all year in just ball movement. Everybody's moving, everybody's a threat. And he found like a great one-handed bounce pass to Wiggins. Like the Heat are a fantastic defensive team. It's like no matter who they put out there, it's sound rotation, and they beat them in a big moment. I thought that capped off a great night for Giddey, but and if Kenrich hits those 2 free throws, like it's essentially over. There was like 20 seconds left. It's a huge, huge twist in that game.
Agreed. Or if he even hits 1, quite honestly.
Right.
Because, I mean, let's say he hits that second one that bounced off the rim a couple times and came out. Wiggins almost came down with it, but he's kind of tripped up as he was falling, couldn't control it if he holds on to it. But, they'd have to inbound the ball, butterfly effect. You probably don't get the exact same shot. Plus, if the Thunder are up 2, if they're up 3 at that point instead of 2, maybe they defend it a little bit differently because you can give up the 2-pointer and it doesn't matter. So Jada maybe doesn't jump in the air on that and he gets an and 1. Just so many things had to happen at the end for the Thunder to lose that game, and they all happened.
It was a big 3 as well. OKC was up 5. Big 3 from Oladipo before that next sequence. Kind of a no doubter too. The last 3 that Giddey took, Spenser and I were talking about this before we got started, but Mark called the timeout. He couldn't really see that OKC had like secured possession, and the ball went out to Giddey as the timeout was being called. Like it was being rotated back out to Giddey, who was wide open, and I believe he went ahead and shot it. I'm pretty sure he made it. They called timeout with 5 seconds left on the shot clock, and then it turned into a more of a desperate contested three from Giddey. But that was 2 times they trying to avoid a jump ball. They called timeout and didn't get anything close to a good look after those, which surprised me. Like usually if Dignauld gets a timeout to run something, it usually results in a decent look.
Yeah, I think that the other biggest swing for me was that Omarui foul.
Yeah.
That resulted in a 6-point possession for the Heat. The Thunder had a 5-point lead at the time, and it was a clear path foul after a steal. They stole the ball from Trey Mann. Omarui fouls Oladipo, clear path. So 2 free throws. Of course, he made both of them because the Heat aren't missing tonight. And then they hit a 3, and they fouled the 3-point shooter. So it was a 4-point, and of course he hits the free throw. So it was a 6-point play, and the Miami Heat take a 1-point lead. Now the Thunder end up. What was crazy is after all those circumstances, SGA checks back in. They end up going on a big run, and they take another 5-point lead. And it felt like the Thunder were taking complete control of the game.
Yeah.
And then we saw there at the end how just everything, again, self-inflicted on some of them and just some crazy circumstances, but lost it there at the end. End of the day, I just feel bad for the guys because they fought really hard. It was their first national TV game, and you could tell they wanted it bad. They came back a couple of different times, but the Heat made plays there at the end, and it's a road game. The Heat, even shorthanded, they still have Butler and Oladipo, and you go 40-40 from the line. And 1-point loss, I think you just live and learn and move on.
Before we move on from this game, I do want to mention Jalen. He was awesome, especially late. The pivot to the layup on the right side, I think it may have tied it or cut it to 2. And then the next play was a steal, and he picked it up, threw it ahead to Josh for a layup that forced a timeout. And then the block on Oladipo. Oladipo had quite a head start on him. He was at the free throw line, maybe just above the free throw line, and Oladipo was coming full speed, and Jalen got his left hand. It was an emphatic block with his left hand that led to, I believe Josh followed up a block on a Shea attempt. It was really good stuff from Jalen, and they were commenting on him all night, how mature he plays, and he just seems unfazed, and very, very impressed with him in his his demeanor and his poise in those late game moments. He's been unflappable, which is a huge plus for him as a rookie.
Yeah, I mean, it's super cliche, but he doesn't look like a rookie at all, right? He does not play like a rookie, and in some ways he shouldn't, because he's he was a 3-year college guy, so he's a little bit older than say an Ousmane Dieng or other guys that are just coming to the league at 18, 19 years old. He's older than those guys. He's more experienced, but yeah, I mean, 12 points, 5 assists, 2 steals, a block, and only 1 turnover tonight on a night where Shea and Giddey were, they were both good, but they were also both, throwing it over the yard a little bit. They had 6 turnovers each. And Jalen is just cool, calm, and collected. I can't think of a single mistake he made tonight other than the and one on Jimmy at the end. But
yeah,
what are you going to do?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why that's why I say it's I think this is just learning lessons from down the road. Look, the Thunder is still, they've overperformed the season, and coming into tonight, they'd won 7 of 11 games. But road games are rough for young teams, and this is the second youngest team in NBA history. They're 5-14 on the road, and Miami is 12-9 at home. I just think that even though the loss was a bummer, especially considering they could have won it, I just think things like that, like J-Dub fouling Jimmy Butler there at the end, I feel like you either got to foul him so hard he doesn't make the shot, or you just let him have that shot once you realize he's in that position. Just kind of contest, put up your arms without jumping. We know that Jalen has those long arms, 7'2" wingspan anyways, so don't leave the ground. It's just a learning lesson. They'll be better for it there at the end.
Tonight was the 41st game, so we're right at the halfway point, which is wild to think about. We're already so far into the year, but OKC's 18-23 now. I'm staring at a tweet. You guys may have seen the same one, so you may already know, but do you know where Oklahoma City was at record-wise at this point last year?
I'm going to say 15 wins. I'm just guessing.
I'm going to say it was 12 wins.
It was 14 and 27. Does it feel like, I don't know how to feel. It feels like we're much better than we were last year, but I would think more like Brandon, like we're 6 or 7 games better than we are.
But remember at the beginning of last year, we won a bunch of games we weren't supposed to win. Like we beat the Lakers twice when everyone thought the Lakers were good. I think, they probably beat they beat the Nuggets 100 times last year. It felt like, not really, but it always felt like they beat them. But especially early in the year, as being somebody that is focused on the tank and was checking Tankathon every night, I remember being pretty frustrated over the course of the first 2 months of last year. And then it kind of leveled off. And then, I guess Shea got hurt in the middle of the year. He sprained his ankle and missed, how was it, a month? I forget how long he missed. And that the season kind of cooled off at that point.
All right, Brandon, any final bow on tonight's game, or you got any more notes or any more shout outs?
No, I think maybe I'll say a couple more things. Look, I think that Shea played really well. You can debate whether or not his final shot was the right shot, but he played a really good game overall. I think Josh Giddey had a great game, and Jalen Williams played a really great game. The Heat were shorthanded. Yes, everybody's talking about that, but remember, OKC is shorthanded as well. They started a two-way player who made his second career start tonight at center, and he's 6'6", and he was the starting center. So, I mean, again, I know that some people feel like this is a really bad loss. I just don't think we're at the stage of the rebuild yet where, this is a bad loss. I think it was a tough, heartbreaking loss. The Thunder wanted really badly. But I think that the guys, the young core, played really well tonight. So I think it was a good showing from the Thunder on national TV tonight.
And get well soon to Poku.
Yeah. He would have been helpful.
And Jang. I think Jang would have been helpful too.
For sure. For sure. I'm hoping that Oklahoma City still has their foot on the gas, and Spenser, feel free to disagree, but it does feel like for me, when I hope that they're still trying, I'll say, when those two are healthy again, because I would love to see them a part of this current rotation and the way that they're playing.
I agree. I want to see them get as many meaningful reps as possible. The last 25 games of the year, are those meaningful for anybody? I could argue maybe not. And I would probably use Poku's fake stats from the last 2 years during that period of the schedule to support that argument, but especially his rookie year. At some point I think they'll pull the plug, but I don't know that it'll be as severe as it has been, mainly because of Shea's All-NBA chase. I think that's real. And I don't think he's going to want to sit the last 20 games and miss that,
Mm-hmm.
So I could be wrong, but I would be surprised. Now the last 8 games where nobody's playing, that's different. And that, we saw that last year. I mean, heck, Poku didn't play in like the last 6 games last year because he was too good. They had to play Isaiah Roby 44 minutes a night in the last 3 weeks of the season last year. And I think that will probably happen again unless they're literally in the play-in.
Mm-hmm.
But I think I'm excited to see Poku and Jang back and, hopefully get them a few more meaningful games.
Hey, one last thing I'll say, so the Heat broke NBA history by hitting 40 free throws, and the Thunder lose by 1 point. Last year, the Thunder were on the bad side of NBA history when, oh my God, Devontae Graham hit the longest game winner in NBA history after SGA hit what looked like a game winner. So both of those, can you guys think of any other times where OKC was on the wrong side of NBA history? I mean, it's wild. Like
Clay in Game 6.
I mean, yeah,
that's
how
right.
How sad do you want to get, Brandon?
Yeah, I was about to say this can get dark pretty quick.
Yeah.
But did Clay? I mean, Clay went supernova, but did he break any NBA history that game?
Yeah,
I'm sure he hit like 11 threes, right?
I believe at the time
Western Conference.
I believe at the time that was the most in playoff history.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it was. Man, all right. I'm going to develop. I'm working on a sad tweet here while we're doing this podcast.
Props to you for kind of like blocking that out of your memory, though.
Yeah, I know, for real.
Teach me your ways.
Clay who?
All right. Moving on to the other part of tonight's agenda, and that is a redraft of the 2002 NBA 2002.
Wait,
2022. Yeah, little curveball. You weren't expecting. You guys didn't prep for that. The 2022 draft. The 2022 NBA draft. So
maybe this should be 2 separate pods. That was long enough for its own pod. Like, we can get some real content out of this.
All right. So let's go.
Take Yao Ming.
Yeah. Shocker. So let's go. How do we want to do this? Brandon, why don't you start us? I think it's safe to say we all have the same number 1 still, or how we would have the same current number 1. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
Everybody big?
Probably.
Big.
I mean, I would want to back it up with some explanation, but yes, probably.
Sure. All right. Well, make your case for Johnny Davis. Go for it.
So here we are. We're going to redraft the 2022 NBA draft. I know it's early in the season, but we thought this would be a fun exercise. So did we all have Chet Holmgren going number? No, I think that Spenser had Paulo going first, didn't he? Like, he was number 1 on Spencer's board, Paulo?
He was on mine. I can try to find all of our boards. Didn't you have Jabari, or did you change before the draft?
So I'm looking at the first one I did, but it did change. I initially had Chet, and then the last time we updated him, I did have Jabari number 1.
Okay, so we each had somebody different. Okay, so this will be fun then. So I will say I think, given Chet's injury and how great Paolo's been, you got to put Banchero number 1 in a re-ranking. That said, I will say, there's Banchero's efficiency hasn't been great, but he's impacting the game, kind of across the board. It's not just scoring, although the scoring's been great. Assists, rebounds, kind of the whole package. We knew he was going to be NBA ready, but I think he's even better than we thought. So given the injury and how well Paolo's done, I think you got to default to Paolo number 1. Although Chet was my number 1 throughout the entire draft process, and I'm sticking by Chet. I still think he's going to be a star. Spenser, what say you?
For number 1 or 2?
Well, we both. I definitely have Paolo 1. I'm assuming. I mean, you still have Paolo.
Yeah. So we're going back. We're going down and just arguing. We're not. It's not a mock draft where we're going like
Right.
than you. Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah, no, I think Paolo's the clear one. He's averaging 7.8 free throw attempts per game, which is insane for a rookie. And, for just everything that we thought would translate as far as his passing, his, advantage creation, his ability to dribble the ball is like this 6'10" monster that is all translated. The shot is what it is. That's kind of also what we expected. He's been, I think he's been efficient enough considering he's a rookie and considering, again, how much he's getting to the line. It's not crazy to think that this time next year he'll be getting the line 10 times a game, especially depending on, depends on who they draft. If they get Wemby, we'll see how the usage breaks down. But yeah, he's been awesome. And then, I think Chet is the clear 2 as well. Just because nobody else has really shown a superstar upside. Which we haven't seen that from Chet either, but I think that was part of his projections. And, like you said, Ryan, we're 41 games into this, so I'm still baking in a lot of, preseason or, pre-draft expectations and, draft pedigree into these rankings. And so, with that in mind, I think Chet is still number 2.
And I think he showed enough in summer league to keep everybody at bay. And
the clips of like JJ Redick and Kevin Durant talking about how good he was, and those runs, the off the grid runs with other NBA players. That's always nice.
What a great hip term from you, runs. Really, really nailed that one. All right. So we're good on 1 and 2. I think this is where we can have some fun. Number 3, and again, we're not for the listeners, this is not team specific. So when we get into like who's 3, don't be thinking like who would the Rockets take if they could redo it. This is just who prospects who we now that what we've seen, how we would re-rank them. So number 3, Brandon, where are you going?
Brandon, are you on mute?
Thank you, Spencer. I'm developing that sad tweet we were talking about. I don't want you guys to hear my keyboard clacking. So Chet is my clear number 2. My number 3 is how do you not go with Benedict Mathurin here? I think he's the clear choice. I think it's, to me, any re-ranking is a clear 1, 2, 3. Paolo, Chet, Benedict Mathurin. He's been great this season.
You can make the case for Mathurin. I'm going to make the case for somebody else.
Okay. To me, Benedict Mathurin, like when you look at his stats, obviously, he's scoring wise. He's been second among all rookies, and he's doing it fairly efficiently. For the season, he's got 17.1 points, 33.3% from 3-point, 82% from the free throw line, 48%. I'm looking at all his stats. Maybe he's not the clear 3. He's kind of taking a downturn, but I still got him at 3. His stats have kind of
stop the count.
From when I last look at him, I hadn't been paying close attention to him over the past couple of weeks, but I still have him at 3. I liked him a lot preseason. I still like him a lot. I would take him 3.
All right, I'm going to make the case for Jabari Smith Jr. Like I said, I think that we still have to bake in a lot of pre-draft pedigree in here. Jabari and Mathurin have basically the same effective field goal percentage. It looks like Mathurin's like 1% higher, but neither is particularly great. They're both well under 50%. But I think Jabari profiles as somebody that I would want more in a winning situation, just with his size and his defense. And I do think eventually, he's shooting 32% from 3 right now. That's not real. Like, that's going to come up at some point. I trust that more than, the role that Mathurin has played, and he's been really good this year, as coming off the bench for an indie team that's been better than anybody thought. But I just would rather have a player of Jabari Smith's prototype. And then the other thing that I think this case hinges on is if you put Jabari Smith on the Thunder right now, where there's ball movement and accountability and like real offense that's being played, I think he's like a real rookie of the year front runner. You know, maybe a little bit behind Paolo, because I don't know that he'd have quite the scoring numbers that Paolo has. But I think Jabari would probably be the clear number 2 rookie. Not basing anything on the future with that, but just for how they played this year, I think he'd be either right behind Paolo or neck and neck somewhere in that tier if he was on the Thunder. He's just in a terrible situation for him, which we kind of knew about because the guards in Houston are just playing street ball, basically. I mean, they're not running real offense. And ironically, we saw that at Auburn. You know, it was a similar style.
I was just about to ask whose guards are doing him more of a disservice, Auburn or Houston.
I mean, like at least Jalen Green has, you know, a ton of potential, and so does Kevin Porter. Whereas like Auburn's guards were, you know, not NBA guys, to put it politely.
Don't tell them
but
that.
But it's just not, you know, it's not a good situation for somebody like him who is going to compete like hell on the defensive end, but on offense, he needs service. And, you know, he just hasn't really gotten that. And he has been a better shooter over the last month or so. So I would still have Jabari. Ryan, are you going to break the tie, or are you going to put somebody else up here?
I am going to break the tie. I also had Jabari at 3.
Nice.
Who has a worse rookie who has worse rookie circumstances, Jabari Smith or Trevor Lawrence?
Well, you got a lame duck coach, and
do you think Jabari is going to lead the Rockets to the playoffs next year? Then,
better not.
I mean, if winning less than half your games or right at half your games is the barometer, then I think that. Well, no, they're not good. Houston's not going to make the playoffs next year. But I think just based on like the frame alone and his ability to shoot from 3, I totally agree with Spenser. Like if like let's say he played as many minutes for this team as Jalen J-Dub, and was getting a lot of like second side action where the defense is totally in rotation and they're just in scramble mode. I feel like he might have some nasty poster dunks by this point, just in how many times he would have a clear lane to attack. And he's a guy that guys are going to close out to pretty hard. Good pump fake on that kid. Like I really like his ability. It's not his ability that I'm down on. It's more just the situation he's in. He's not faultless, but he's a rookie, and he needs a much better situation for his skill set to thrive. So it's kind of a bummer that it's gone that way for them, but he would still
also not that much of a bummer. You know, it's kind of good.
but yeah, I would still have him 3.
I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I just penciled in from my own, memory and stuff like that, without really much thinking my top 4. And then I really started my work at 5. Mathurin has kind of tanked his 3-point shot over the past month, has really tanked, and it's hurt his overall efficiency and obviously his 3-point percentage. That said, I still like the overall game a lot from Mathurin.
He's at 4 for me.
Okay.
I think it's I have him at 4.
Yeah, and I still worry. The things that I worried about with Jabari, I like Jabari a lot, and I think he's still going to be a very good player. But the things that we were worried about pre-draft are still there, as far as like the handle, the finishing at the rim. I mean, the one thing he's supposed to be elite at is the 3 ball, and I think it's going to get better. I think he's going to be a good 3-point shooter, but he's still only hitting 32% from 3 on the year. I think that you can make a good debate there, but I will readily admit I was hasty in my preparation for this by just penciling in Matherin over Jabari. It's closer than I would have expected.
I think that's big of you to reach across the aisle like that.
Yeah. Well, it's not only that, but it's an excuse for it's an excuse because I was big on Jabari, and I still think he's going to be a good player. I think that most people will admit though that it's been underwhelming so far his play so far this season, and Matherin has exceeded expectations so far this season. My number 4 guy is Jabari Smith Jr. And is Matherin 4 for both of you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So my number 5.
Yep.
It's actually Jalen Williams.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Yeah, I know. But here's the deal. If you look at the numbers, the eye test, all those things, he's played like a top 5 rookie. It was very, very close between him and another player. But this other player is 8 months older than J-Dub is. And, their efficiency, all those things, like their numbers are so close. What it comes down to for me is this other player's 3-point percentage is much, much better than J-Dub's right now. But I still feel like J-Dub's 3-point percentage is going to keep going higher. Just like we said with Jabari Smith Jr. I think his is going to go up. I think J-Dub's is going to go up. He was a very good shooter in college. And if J-Dub's 3-point percentage was at like 35, 36%, I mean, he'd be having a ridiculous rookie season so far. I like his overall skill set. I like the fact that he's a playmaker. I like the fact that he scores efficiently. He has games of 4 blocks, 3 steals consistently with the steals and blocks. I just think he's an overall good, smart, well-rounded, safe player with upside. I like him a lot.
Spencer, where are you at on number 5?
I've got Jaden Ivey at 5 still. And I think what happened here, and I think it's cool that Brandon and I took different approaches, but I think I just have baked in my priors a little bit more than Brandon has. I agree. Like, I think Jalen has had a better rookie season than Jaden Ivey in a lot of ways. Now the roles are very different, right? Like Cade has barely played, so Ivey has kind of been thrown to the wolves a little bit here. But Jalen, like within his role, has been darn near perfect. But I still think, like, if we were really having another draft today, I think Ivey with his upside is still going to go above Jalen. I have Jalen at 8. I'll go ahead and say, which I thought was a pretty healthy increase in his value here. Going from the 12th pick in the draft to 8. But yeah, I have Ivy at 5. And I agree with, everything Brandon said about how good Jalen Williams has been. I think I do question the upside a little bit. Just in terms of, some people I've seen on Reddit or Twitter or whatever have thrown around like some early James Harden comps with him. And I think that's borderline blasphemous. I don't really see that at all. So maybe that's why, I still see him as like a super high level role player, even a starter long-term on this team. And for me, like that slides in pretty comfortably at number 8.
I went back and forth on 5 between 2 players. It probably should be Ivy if we aren't just totally abandoning how we felt like 6 months ago. It probably should be Ivy. I've been very, very impressed with and again, the numbers are pretty rough, but I've been very impressed with Shaedon Sharpe and what he could potentially be as like a lead guy. The athleticism is insane and very much lived up to the hype. It was very disappointing that he didn't play he got hurt so early in summer league that it felt very like like how we felt last year with Giddey. But I've loved watching him and the explosion, how fast he gets up in the air. He's an elite athlete, as is Ivy. But I'll stick with Ivy at 5, but I'll go ahead and spoil 6 for me is Sharp.
I love the Shaden Sharp pick. We were all high. Well, I think you and I were both really, really high on Shaden Sharp pre-draft. Were you? I can't remember where you were at on Sharp.
I have our final boards here, at least close to final. It says last edit here was May 6th. So I think we did a podcast then. I had Sharp at 5, Brandon had Sharp at 4, and Ryan had him at 3.
Yeah, so we were all really high.
We were all very high on Sharp. Yeah.
And I agree with Ryan. Like, I mean, this season so far has been nothing but encouraging for Shaden Sharp. Like, if you were already high on Shaden Sharp, there's no reason not to still be incredibly high on Shaden Sharp.
I'm curious to see what they do with like their guard minutes, because Simons is obviously really good and obviously Lillard's there. So there's not like a ton of opportunities for Sharp, but I really have enjoyed watching when they play the 3 of them together. It's not a ton, but I really like when they play the 3 of them together. And Sharp gets to really like those 3 can heat up to all at the same time, and it's kind of nuts. But I love what I'm seeing from Sharp and his athleticism translating so quickly, and his shot. Then I think he's like mid to low 30s from 3 right now. I think it's like 35, which isn't bad, especially for a rookie. But I think the potential is there for just an absolute sniper.
Ryan, where do you have Jalen?
So I have Sharp for me is 6, and then I went back and forth pretty hard between Jalen at 7 and at 8. So, and I landed with him at 7.
So you have Jalen at 7. Okay, so we've got I believe that means we have Shaden Sharp at 6 here for the purposes of this draft. And then Jalen at 7. Does that sound right to everybody?
I have okay, so
just
I have
the collective.
Right. I've got Keegan at 6, Keegan Murray at 6, and Shaden Sharp at 7. But that was
okay.
My 5 through 8 were very, very difficult. Like,
yeah, I agree.
My 5 through 8 were really, really, and I think that you can make a good argument for each of those. I felt like what we've seen from J-Dub so far, and knowing that he can increase his 3-point percentage, because I believe in the shot, I think he's the safest of the others. I think there's still question marks about the other guys. But yeah, so mine went 5 J-Dub, 6 Keegan Murray, who's just been killing it from 3-point. But he's quite a bit older than all the rest of these guys. And then Shaden Sharp at 7. I have Jaden Ivey all the way at number 8.
Let me I'm going to make a pitch for somebody who we have not mentioned yet, who I have at number 6. And that's AJ Griffin.
Oh wow. You have him at 6.
Wow. Yeah, I have AJ Griffin all the way at 6.
You have AJ Griffin higher than J-Dub.
Yeah, I have him higher than that pre-draft too. And I think AJ Griffin's had a really good year. They both have. But
yeah, they have.
AJ Griffin playing like real minutes on a Hawks team that like really needs a wing, because they messed around and traded Kevin Huerter for no reason at the beginning of the year. And he's been really good and has looked, not completely back to his high school athleticism, but is sort of getting there and has been better on defense than people thought, shooting 37% from 3. I have AJ Griffin at 6. I think he's like a super valuable role player. I'm happy that we have Jalen Williams and Ousmane Dieng, but I think we would have been very happy with taking AJ Griffin as one of those picks.
That is not a name I thought we'd hear in the top 10.
I thought that's who Brandon was talking about with the shooting percentage. I thought that's who you were alluding to with
Oh yeah,
him and Ivy.
I was alluding to Keegan Murray. He's like over 40%
Keegan Murray
from three. Yeah, Keegan Murray is over 40% from three on the season, which is nuts. He is 41% on the season. He started off rough, but he has been just killing it lately. And again, you talk about roles. Again, he's 22 years old, and his whole thing was being NBA ready. Him and Paulo were supposed to be the two most NBA ready, and I mean that looks to be the case. And he's on a Kings team that's really good. He's like the third or fourth best player, maybe fifth best player on that team. So roles are different, but he's been impressive. And again, I think there's just a safety. There's not a lot of question marks about Murray. You kind of know what you get, and that's a good, solid player.
So I've gone up to. I'm on number. Have you guys both given out number 8 already?
My number 8 was Jaden Ivey.
Okay. Yep. My 8 is a guy we haven't mentioned yet. Is Dyson Daniels.
That's my number 9. That's my number 9. So I'll let you take it.
I've just loved his defense. Speaking of a player playing minutes on a good team, he has been really good, really helpful for a Pelicans team that is clearly on the rise. But the shot looks much better than I thought it was going to this early on. I honestly can't even tell you his percentage, but I've in watching their games, I've been pleasantly surprised at how fluid his shot looks, how like he's just taking them. He's not even thinking about it. Like he's taking good in the flow 3-pointers and not hesitating at all when he has a good look to take. The defense, he's been asked to guard a lot of different types of players, a lot of different sizes, a lot of different skill sets, and off the ball guys that run off a lot of screens, and then some ball dominant guys like Harden and like I believe they had him on Luka for a good stretch in their most recent game. But I really like how versatile he is. I think the Pelicans were a great fit for him, but I think he could have gone to any team in the top 10 and they would have been able to use him from day one. And I still think he has a lot more to show. So I like Dyson a lot, and I have him just slightly above Keegan Murray. I know he's been mentioned, so that was my number 9. But the age difference and just how versatile Dyson's been, I really like him.
I have the same 9-10. I have Dyson at 9, and I have Keegan Murray at 10.
Nice. I had Dyson Daniels at 9. I have Jeremy Sohan at 10. And I'll just say that I agree with. And again, I was really high on Dyson Daniels pre-draft. Where did I have Dyson pre-draft, Spencer?
You had Dyson at 11.
Oh, did I really?
Higher. Again, this is May, so you may have this is just the last podcast I think that we did.
Okay. I need to.
So you may have moved them up.
Yeah, I need to find my last big board that I made. I really liked him pre-draft, and all the things that Ryan said. I don't think there's much to add. I think he's been great in limited minutes, but Jeremy Sohan kind of got a lot of attention because his free throw shooting was so bad the first part of the season. Then he started shooting one-handed free throws, so he kind of became like a punchline. But his defense has been really good, and his scoring actually has improved. His overall game has been pretty solid. And he's not somebody I was necessarily really high on pre-draft. So he's somebody that has kind of impressed me. I think, and especially in the Spurs system, I think he's a hardworking, high IQ connector guy. I think that given the offensive jump already, like the encouraging signs that we've seen from his offense this early, and given his defense, much like Dyson Daniels, I'm surprised, but I have him at number 10.
Ryan, where do you have him?
Who's that?
Jeremy Sohan.
I did not have him in the top 10. I'll say that.
I have him at 13.
Okay.
The offense is just so far away, I think. In terms of scoring, at least. I agree he's a good connector. But yeah, he's just Like I feel pretty strongly that AJ Griffin should be above Sohan.
But I mean, Sohan's like he's like at 48% effective field goal percentage, and he's
he's not shooting, right?
Yeah, I mean he's again, it's
somebody on that team's got to score. He's shooting 20% from three, 60% from the line. I just think he's really far away from impacting winning basketball on the offensive end.
That's fair. I'm just encouraged by his early play already. I think it's been pretty impressive considering. I mean, I wasn't very high on it, so maybe my expectations were low. So I've been impressed by his improvement.
I've got a new name at 10. I'm surprised I'm going to be the first to mention this guy. Dyson at 8, Keegan at 9. I've got Ousmane Dieng at 10. If we're
at 11,
I think we would probably have him higher than any other team's fan base doing this, but like we've seen much more of him than anyone. But if upside is a part of the equation, and we all were decently high on him pre-draft, I haven't seen I'm much more excited about him than I was before the draft, and I think we all had him like around this range, somewhere between 10 and 14, back in the summer.
13 to 15. Ryan, you were the highest on him.
I didn't think the shot would like look as smooth as it does so soon, and he seems like a really smart connector. Doesn't need the ball necessarily to be effective. Good cutter, good passer for his size. Like all the things that he was promoted as, he has been that, and not near as raw as he was projected to be. I thought we were looking at, multiple seasons with the Blue before he could like really contribute, and he was playing. The team's this isn't a contender by any means, but he was playing solid rotation minutes up until his injury, and was doing things in a game that I thought we'd have to wait a while to see. So if he's got that much more to give and to grow into, I would much rather have him than someone like a Sohan or a Griffin, or like a Jalen Duren. I'd much rather see. I would, if we were drafting again, I would definitely take Dieng with what we've seen and what there is to come over those names.
Yeah, I think you hit it right. I mean, he covering his upside and all that, what he can do kind of as a connector too, and just his movement skills are so impressive. And then, I mean, we've seen little flashes of the step back. Another thing that I really like and appreciate that he has more or less dominated the G League while he's been down there.
Yeah,
that's always a good thing to see. Especially for somebody who's played pro ball before, albeit in a weaker league. He gets taste of NBA minutes. I thought he was really good in the preseason, and then the first 7 or 8 games of the actual season, I think he looked a little bit overwhelmed, which is fine. But he went down to the G League, came back and looked, like he more or less fit in on most possessions. So I think that for me, it really falls off after 10, and I have Ousmane at 11 in terms of like a solid like guys that you can count on. But of all the guys after 10, like of who I'm betting on their upside, I would take Ousmane. But there is, I do see sort of a lack of other options at this point.
Brandon, you're on 11, I believe.
Yeah. My number 11 is AJ Griffin. And for all the reasons that Spenser stated earlier, I mean, he's had a really, really good rookie season, especially considering, kind of the draft, pre-draft, most analysts were so high on him. And then the draft happens and everybody's like, yeah, He's injured. He's not going to come back from that. He's losing his athleticism. He's not going to be able to defend anybody. And now as the season has gone along, I think you're kind of getting back to the pre-draft analysis of AJ Griffin.
Where do you have Usman, Brendan?
I have Usman at number 12. I didn't know if I should butt in there or not. And it's hard for me because I'll be quite honest. Like I was trying not to be a homer because I felt like, am I being too much of a homer here because I have J-Dub at number 5? I shouldn't have Usman above his draft position originally when he's been hurt and he played a lot in the G League. But like we've talked about, when you're looking at upside and when you're looking at potential stars and when you're looking at like the flashes that he's shown, like would I trade Usman Jang for AJ Griffin? I don't know if I would. And would I trade him for Jeremy Sohan? Now that I think about it, I probably wouldn't. Trade. Like it gets crazy when you start thinking about, would you trade Usman Jang for, at least for me personally, would I trade him for Dyson Daniels? Like that's where I think he's in that, that range. So I have him at 12. I felt like that was a comfortable spot. He was taken at 11. I think he's shown the flashes, and you just don't see 6'10" dudes that move the way he moves and has the upside that he has. So I felt comfortable slotting him at 12. I felt like that was a fair end point for him, balancing like, am I being too much of a homer here versus, hey, no, the dude really does have incredible upside and he's shown the flashes.
Griffin was my number 11 as well. Where are you at, Spencer?
I had Griffin all the way up at number 6.
No. Where are you at on number 11?
Well, my number 11 was Usman. You want my number 12?
Yeah.
Tari Eason, who's somebody that I was not a fan of pre-draft, and I'm still like, is not somebody that I would be super psyched to have spent a lottery pick on. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I feel that we're almost out of options here, and the frame looks good on it. I think he moves well, and he looks like an NBA player, and the shooting which I was super skeptical of. Like the numbers look pretty good, albeit the volume is not super high yet. But he's somebody that can be kind of a game wrecker, in like an energy type of way as a defender. And again, just kind of sort of, they're all playing aimless basketball out there in Houston, but he has, I think, shown enough upside as like a potential role guy at some point that I have him at 12.
I have him at 13. There's only,
okay.
I had Sohan 12 and Eason at 13.
I have those guys flipped. So
that's funny. We are close. I have Eason at 14. I had Andrew Nembhard at number 13.
Nembhard just missed for me. I had him. He's my first guy out.
Yeah, and I agree with you guys on Tari Eason. And again, he's a guy I liked pre-draft, and he's been really good this season. I think that the shooting has kind of fallen off and kind of been more what we expected. But he's still such a good, solid defender and role player, and has some upside. Nembhard has been really impressive. He was picked number 31 overall, so you can argue he was the biggest steal as far, like relative to the draft position. Him or Walker Kessler, probably, who just missed the cut for me. But yeah. Nembhard's numbers have been really, really impressive this season. He's had one of the best rookie games this season.
Brandon, because we're just going to 14. Have you named them all?
Yeah, so I named them all. I had two that I had, I'll be honest, like my 13, 14, I had between 4 guys, and I went Nembhard and Eason.
Okay.
It's hard to ignore Nembhard's numbers so far, but he is a little bit older. But I had 2 centers that just fell out.
So list your 10 through 14.
Sohan 10, Griffin 11, Jang 12, even though I wouldn't trade Jang for Sohan or Griffin. So whatever. Uh, 13 Nimhard and 14 Easton.
Spenser, what about you?
So I have one guy we haven't talked about yet, and this is kind of a wild card, and I'm not even totally sure.
I think you're going to steal my thunder here.
Well, go ahead if you think. I bet not. I mean, go ahead.
Jaden Hardy?
No, I'm going way more off the radar. At least
interesting.
Way off the radar. So it's not Jalen Duren then either.
No. Make the case for Hardy, and I'll come back to my guy.
The case for Hardy is if it's a game of most points wins, that guy's a bucket.
It is in fact a game of most points wins.
I think he's the glaring, like, how was he not a first round pick kind of guy.
That was weird on draft night too. I mean, I think we were saying that on the couldn't the Thunder have taken him?
Yes, because he was 37, and I think we were kind of looking around once we were coming back up at 34, like are they going to be the one to take him? But we had to get that sec. I mean, how can you pass up two guys with the same name? But yeah, I have Hardy at 14. It's a bit recent. It's some recency bias in there because he's had some microwave games over the last week or so. But he's bigger. He's definitely bigger in stature than I thought he was. He just looks he looks the part size wise on the court, and super like twitchy, fast. Like can heat it up pretty quickly. So again, more so out of a lack of options, but also I thought this guy fell way too far. So I'm going to go Jaden Hardy at 14, rounding out the lottery.
I think I know who Spencer's guy is.
I think that's a good shout, Ryan. I'm going to make the case for a high floor player in Marjan Beauchamp with the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah.
I knew it was either going to be him or Patrick Baldwin because
that was the other guy I thought he was going after.
I
remember he was really high on Baldwin pre-draft.
Oh yeah.
So I thought it would either be him.
What is really high? I don't remember. I remember
comparatively to the rest of the analysts.
I did have him at 19, so that's fair. You guys did not. Yeah, that's a yikes. No, I mean Beauchamp is shooting 34% from three and is a great, kind of a good rotation guy playing 15 minutes a night for a championship contender, and like that to me, that gets him to 14 for me. And he's the 24th pick in the draft, so he didn't fall that far.
Am I forgetting about someone? Is he playing minutes out of necessity for someone, or like is he playing mostly because of Middleton being out, or is he
Probably.
Just in rotation?
I mean, 15 minutes is nothing to sneeze at.
No, it's not. It's not at all. But I was just curious. I haven't watched the Bucks in like that in depth in a minute, so I didn't know if that was like just because of him or because of him.
He may not be in their playoff rotation, but they've got the oldest roster in the league. So, they're going to have guys in and out with rest during the regular season and stuff.
He has been good.
He's been solid. I've been keeping track here. Everyone's top 14 has been said, right?
Yep.
Yes.
I think we need to come to a consensus on 14. And I'm fine with it being Nembhard or Harvey. I don't necessarily think it has to be Marjan, but I think we have a pretty solid top 13. And then the 14th we split on. You're
the tiebreaker then between Nembhard and Hardy.
Yeah, I would be willing to switch my vote to Nembhard. I think he's been super impressive. And kind of coming out of nowhere. I don't know how sustainable it is. Like again, if we're really doing this draft, like does Nembhard get taken over Jalen Duren? Probably not. But I think Nembhard has earned it with how just efficient he's been and how good he's been for a Pacers team that's surprised some folks.
This draft definitely like hammered home the no sinners in the lottery for me. Like unless they're
a unicorn, like in the late lottery. Like I should preface that like late lottery, like the Mark Williams, the Jalen Durans, like
Like none for me. But yeah,
There's
like
another one, by the way, in this 2023 draft. There's another guy that's kind of that profile. His name's Khalil Ware at Oregon, who's going to be in that range. So we're going to be doing this again.
when I slot him at 9 in May, just remind me what I said. Um, but yeah, like one thing that's interesting is the only two teams with two players in our top 14 is Oklahoma City and Houston, and we feel so differently about both teams like future, and I find that very interesting.
I mean, the Rockets Twitter had a full-on meltdown this week. I mean,
Yeah.
it's been a bit of a disaster with the clips that have been going around, and Austin Rivers calling people out, and it's a good time to be a Thunder fan and not a good time to be a Rockets fan. And I expect that will continue until about lottery night, and then that may flip. But
Yeah, it's. I think the thing is the difference between OKC and Houston is SGA coaching.
yeah,
SGA and coaching and like structure and a system, culture. I think if you take SGA out of the equation and just look at the players, it's really comparable. I mean, like you can argue upside stats, whatever or not, but you can compare Josh Giddey and Jalen Green. You can compare Chet Holmgren and Jabari Smith Jr. You can have your preferences and things like that. I don't know, but the Thunder just have, I mean, guys like Jalen Williams and Lou Dort, and then Mike Muscala and Kenrich Williams. The Thunder just have, I think, capable guys that can step in and play their roles up and down the roster, and they've been given a structure.
Yeah, structure is the big thing, I think.
Yeah. Houston has taken a lot of talent, and you just got to wonder like how that talent would look, in the OKC system, or handpick a different system.
It sort of strikes me.
Go ahead.
Well, it's funny that we use the same word there.
Yeah.
It strikes me that Sam Presti saw obviously ushered in the Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook era, and then the post KD era with kind of Russ playing the style of basketball that he was playing. And then when he got a chance to rebuild it, he was like, "Oh no, we're not doing this anymore. We're going to play. We're going to share the ball. It's going to be 5 guys moving as a unit. We're going to have a guy. We're going to have some stars that play ISO. Down the stretch and in certain moments, like we'll have with Shea and maybe with Chet at some point. But for the most part, he's trying to build a system, and I think that is a direct reaction to seeing." That there was not as much fruit under the Westbrook style of offense, as there probably should have been. Those teams often were less than the sum of their parts. And then you look at Houston, and it's a different general manager, but Raphael Stone was there under Daryl Morey. And they saw, how it worked out with Harden and how close they got. And they said, you know what, we're going to try to do that same thing again. Like, whether it's Jalen Green or whether they, draft Scoot Henderson or somebody else, like they're clearly, they're not trying to reinvent the wheel in a way that, I think the Thunder are. And I think that's interesting and kind of damning in a way that Houston has not made any major adjustments from their previous era.
It's a good point. I was just what I was going to say was it's crazy how different the philosophy seems in the players that they're taking. There's so many connectors in Oklahoma City, and I don't know of one on that Houston.
Şengün.
Yeah, I mean, he's probably your best passer, and they can hardly keep him on the floor.
Because a rookie's yelling at the coaching staff to take him out.
The defense has truly been that bad.
I knew I was forgetting somebody as Şengün. Probably arguably their best young player so far. I mean, I think actually there's no argument that so far he's been better than Jalen Green and Jabari Smith Jr. I don't know if that'll end up being the case long term, but so far he has been. I think it's wild too. At some point, I think it'd be fun to redo the 2021 draft because, Scotty Barnes was rookie of the year. And then this season, it's been a big sophomore slump. Josh Giddey, I think for some reason people were kind of down on him at the beginning of the season, but he's been stellar since December, and his overall season numbers have been much improved from an impressive rookie year. Then you got Şengün, who's been impressive. And then you got guys like Jalen Green, who most people have kind of considered maybe the best player in the draft. But then you kind of look at his numbers and you wonder, is he? Cade has been hurt. Mobley is kind of the guy, but he's kind of fallen off the radar a little bit. It's just a fascinating draft.
Yeah, the Mobley part of it, I was surprised he didn't win Rookie of the Year based on his year, but I like defensively he's just fantastic. I was thinking the offense would take a bigger leap in year 2 than he's shown, and maybe it's more of a not he's just not being asked to do a whole lot. But
you got Donovan Mitchell scoring 71. There's not a lot to do.
Right.
But I do hope that the fluidity comes for Mobley on the offensive end. It still feels a little bit rigid.
I'm not worried about Mobley at all. I would if we were doing this draft, I would probably take him at 1.
So would I. I would too.
And I know Cade, that's probably a little bit of a disservice to Cade, but Cade's going to have 70 games under his belt for his first 2 years. And they were pretty good 70 games, but they were, it's not it's not as good as Paolo's been. I would say.
Cade would be my 2 though. Clearly, would he be yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
If we were
after those 2 though is where it gets really, really interesting. You can make arguments anywhere from obviously Jalen Green, Scotty Barnes. I think Franz Wagner. We haven't mentioned Franz. Yeah, Franz Wagner's probably the clear 3 actually.
Probably Franz and Scotty are 3-4, and then I think you're into the Giddey tier after that, somewhere in there.
If we were drafting both 21 and 22 as one group,
oh wow,
does Paolo go 1?
I'd rather have Mobley.
Wow, interesting.
I think I'd rather have Mobley too.
That guy's going to be an unbelievable defender in all the ways that you want a big man defender. You want him to be. He's perfect. You design him in the lab. He's basically Chet Holmgren, but a little bit more fleet of foot maybe, and heavier. He's more sturdy. So at least on the defensive end,
I think it would be. We're kind of doing that. We're kind of. I feel like we're arguing it. I think you can make a good argument for Mobley, Cade, or Paolo. And if Chet wasn't hurt, but he is hurt. But if he wasn't hurt, I think he'd be in the conversation as well.
I think for me, it's still Cade. The size and the positional value, and he was. He had some stretches last year that were borderline dominant, especially for a rookie. The pace that he can control at his age, and just so much class. I really like Cade a lot, and think he's a destined lead guard on a good team. And I would give a small tiebreaker to just the fact that he's an oversized guard that can do it all over a big.
Yeah, I'd probably take Cade over Paolo. And then, Jalen Green's in this mix too, for as much as we have, criticized Houston. I think I still think, and I was the highest on Green going into the draft of the 3.
Yeah, he's not in the mix for me personally.
I know he's been inefficient, but the types of shots that he's been asked to take and has to take within an offense that just doesn't have a point guard. I think we're going to look up in 2 years, unless this Houston, ecosystem just completely ruins his trajectory and development. I think we're going to look up in a couple of years, and Jalen Green's going to have I would not rule out a Shea type leap at some point. not next year, but at some point for Jalen Green.
Would you trade Chet Holmgren for Jalen Green right now?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. I was just making sure.
Spenser, is Houston the worst Scoot landing spot or the best?
Well, am I a Thunder fan, or do I want good things for
no, like just in speaking like in terms of Houston?
No, I think, well, for Houston, he'd be perfect. I actually think Amen Thompson would be really good for them as well, because they don't really need him to shoot, because he can come in and just distribute, get to the rim whenever he wants, whenever he needs to, and then he can kind of slowly work on a shot. My favorite Scoot landing spot is Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, I mean, they don't really have a guard. I mean, they have a million guards, but they don't have any guards. Fultz, RJ Hampton, Anthony,
Fultz has been pretty solid since he's come back.
Though. Yeah, but like, come on, Scoot Henderson is a different level of, and I don't mean to be rude to Fultz, but I'm rooting for that guy. But if you have Scoot, Franz, and Paolo, like that could be a special trio.
Oh yeah, I agree with that.
Most recent dunk from Scoot was like,
he's special.
That was insane.
It doesn't seem like this is going to be a problem that the Thunder are going to have, but it would be pretty insane to see how they, like, if they ended up with the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
And I think they would take Scoot. I think they would consider Amen Thompson. I think they would end up taking Scoot, but like, it would be pretty interesting to see how that would be handled. Because then you have 3 point guards.
I think that you run to the platform, even though they don't, they're not there. I think he runs to the phone, like, with as much time as left. Like, as soon as the number 1 pick is in, he rushes and picks Scoot. I just think that Scoot, like you said, is special. I think he's a number 1 pick in a lot of drafts. And you just figure out the fit. I mean, OKC has a lot of guards, but as we've seen, they're also big. I mean, SGA 6'6" with a 7-foot wingspan. Josh Giddey 6'8", 6'9". Jalen Williams 6'6" with a 7'2" wingspan. You can make Scoot fit.
Spenser, over under 1.5 Thunder players get traded if they draft Scoot.
I mean, the first place my brain goes when you ask that question is like, okay, did the Thunder need to trade Josh Giddey for a shooter?
Right.
Josh Giddey is a shooter. What are you talking about? You not been keeping up?
Well, and how about an off-ball shooter? Somebody that, like a Jabari Smith Jr. That will never happen, but that would actually help both teams quite a bit, I think. I don't know. Like, I don't think they trade Josh Giddey within the first 12 months of drafting Scoot Henderson. I think they would bring Scoot in, and this is such a fun hypothetical, but yeah, I think they bring him in. Anyone that they bring in, Amen, Cam Whitmore, go down the list. I think they bring him in. They let that player and Chet play with the core for a year, and at that point, they reassess. Okay, here's what we need. And I think then you start to see some moves made. And I believe that timeline that I just laid out would also line up with Giddey being extension eligible. So that could be a pretty interesting time for the franchise.
That was fun.
Is Giddey extension eligible this summer? Am I wrong on that? No, I think he's got another. It's after the 4th year, right?
Yeah, he's still got another year after that. I think that a lineup of SGA, Scoot, Giddey, Chet, and then just fill in whether it's Dort, whether it's Zhang, whether it's
J-Dub.
J-Dub. J-Dub for sure. I think is interesting. I think that I just think with the talent of Scoot, you just take him and figure things out. I don't think it necessarily means that that anybody has to be gone.
Maybe Trey Mann, but
that's all the time we have, folks. Oh gosh, we will get into the great man debate. Spenser and I have been really stoking the flames in the Slack the last few days. So look forward to that. To answer your question, Spencer, on Josh, I believe it looks like he's extension eligible after the 23-24 season.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So that's what I thought initially. So it would be, let Chet and the next rookie or rookies play out their rookie deals, or not the rookie deals, the rookie years. And then, you've got a lot more data on, how everybody fits together. Right? I think that is when you see, like, that summer is when you see the first like big trade of this sort of Thunder era, excluding any like draft day trades.
It's crazy. He'll like when he's eligible for a rookie extension, he'll still be 21 years old.
That's nuts.
Ooh.
Josh Giddey. Like the 24-25 season, he'll be 22.
Wow. That's crazy.
Well, no, he's eligible for that. Oh yeah, I see what. Yeah, you're right. That is crazy. He's so young.
He's so young. That's nuts. That's nuts. Anything I've said negatively about Josh Giddey in the last month, I apologize publicly. He's been awesome. He was really good tonight. All right, that was fun, gents. Well done.
Let me read off this top 14 here before we get out of here.
Yes.
Just to kind of put a bow on this for anyone who has stuck around with us for this long. So this is just the aggregate of all of our picks, but we have Paolo at 1, Chet at 2, Jabari at 3, Ben Mathurin at 4, Jaden Ivey at 5, Shaden Sharp at 6, Jalen Williams at 7, Dyson Daniels at 8, Keegan Murray at 9, AJ Griffin at 10, Ousmane Dieng at 11, Jeremy Sohan at 12, Tari Eason at 13, and Andrew Nemhard at 14. With apologies to Marjon Beauchamp, Jaden Hardy, and Walker Kessler.
Nice. I like it.
Feel good about that.
Yeah, that feels like a solid redraft. Feels like a realistic redraft.
And I guess we should apologize to Jalen Duren's family as well.
That's fair.
I did have him. I had him in, I had Walker Kessler 15 and Jalen Duren at 16. So I was close on Jalen Duren. And he deserves. I think that we all just, kind of want a more modern center.
I was ready to become a Pistons fan, a part-time Pistons fan after draft night.
Yeah, they really.
I mean, draft night vibes for them was amazing. I mean, it looks like they had won the draft. And maybe they did.
Similar to Houston the year before.
Yeah, although I'm still not that mad about. I don't have any Alperen Şengün regrets. I have some Trey Murphy regrets, but
Trey Murphy.
No Şengün regrets from that draft.
But they also ended with Josh Christopher and Garuba in the first round.
Who both suck.
They really do. But man, I was so high on Garuba. I was like, how did we just leave that first round without one of those centers? Like, we didn't take Kai Jones, we didn't take Şengün, we didn't take Garuba. I was so mad, and now, that's how it goes.
It's wild. If you go back to that draft, or go back to the bad luck that the Thunder had that draft. So many different things could okay. For instance, let's say the Thunder do end up with Mobley. They get the, say, 2 or 3 pick, and they take Mobley. Probably too many wins between SJ and Mobley the next season to get Chet, right? So then you're like, well, would you rather have Chet and Giddey or Mobley and, let's say, whoever would have been the 10th pick, like, say, Sohan or somebody like that? I'm not saying that, But it's an interesting.
Or it would have been Jalen Williams, right? I mean,
well, yeah, that's true.
Probably.
Yeah,
they kind of know who they would have taken. It would have been Jang or J-Dub.
Right, it would have been, which is great, obviously. But then so it ends up being J-Dub and Mobley versus, the Thunder end up trading. So you get Chet, Giddey, J-Dub versus Mobley and J-Dub, right?
Yeah, I mean, who knows where they would have ended up in the lottery? Like if they end up at the 7th spot in the lottery, then they would have been where the Kings were, and they move up to 4, and then they probably. So it's probably like Mobley, Mobley and Ivy, or Chet and Giddey.
Yeah, or maybe they like Shaden more than Ivy.
Yeah, maybe Shaden.
Right.
I would at the risk of upsetting some folks, I would probably take the Mobley side of that deal. But it has worked out okay.
Right, that's what I'm saying. Like, despite the bad luck, it's still kind of, a couple years later, when you're looking at kind of like potential butterfly effects and things like that, it's not as bad as initially seen. I guess I'm just saying.
I mean, the fact that Josh Giddey is good is a really big deal. Whether or not he fits, I've never really had. I don't want to say I've never had, but I don't have any concerns about him playing with SGA long term. I do have some concerns about his fit with Dort. But regardless, like Josh Giddey is clearly good. Like if in 2 years Oklahoma City needs to move him for a better player, he's going to have a lot of value at that point. And that's a big hypothetical. But the fact that they had the 6th pick, which is a pretty fraught area to be honest. We're in the Jarrett Culver, Isaac Okoro zone at that point. And the fact that they came out with Josh Giddey is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, boys. We will chat again in probably a week. We'll be back. A lot of all-star buzz kicking up. And I think we're gonna be pretty happy about how that turns out. So we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, guys. Well done.
Absolutely. You guys have a good night.
Spenser, good to have you back. We'll talk to you next year.
Oh man.
All right.
Great way to end it.
If you stayed around this long, we love you. We'll talk to you soon. This is the Daily Thunder podcast. If you like this podcast and other Daily Thunder content, please consider supporting us on our Patreon page. For just $5 a month, you get access to our morning roundups of Thunder news, notes, and commentary. It all gets sent to your email automatically, along with our jam-packed weekend edition newsletter that has exclusive and early release content. For $6 or more a month, you qualify for things like free t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, and special live event passes. For more information, visit patreon.com/Daily Thunder. Thank you for listening to this podcast and for supporting Daily Thunder.